Although the eavesdropping storm has long been enshrined, he has been bothering me for many years. What makes a ruthless bad guy turn into a good guy who helps others? Recently I have been thinking about it repeatedly. Awakening a person, the conscience is to find the answer. Is the protagonist essentially a bad person? First of all, let's introduce the protagonist Wessler, who is a spy. Bad times are really bad. His interrogation method of treating the enemy does not allow people to sleep, threatens the other party's family, eavesdrops on surveillance, destroys humanity, and looks unforgivable. But if you look at his home, you will find that it is actually a very monotonous person. He lives alone, the house is very large, and then look at what he eats. It is a bowl of white noodles, squeezed with ketchup on it. The house is vacant and the life is frugal. He turned on the television, listened to economic news, had no friends or family, and lived only political ideals and jobs. Wessler's badness actually comes more from his closed ignorance, which is not inherently evil. Notice that when he dined in the security department, he chose to sit at a normal table. Stop, but Wessler has to sit with low-level colleagues, which reflects his belief in the equality of all people. What makes Wessler from bad to good? Many people don't know it because they firmly believe they are right, but the first step in changing a person's perception is to jump out of the closed circle, starting with Wessler's decision to personally supervise famous writers. In the surveillance work, the first thing he noticed was that the writer could not be separated from companionship, and there were always lovers and friends around him. Even if he goes out to buy vegetables, he will play ball with the street children for a while, and then notice that the writer is very interested in life, and his lover gives him a tie. He obviously can't play. But he had to pretend to be expensive, and he went to the next-door neighbor to help tie the tie, and begged him to keep it a secret. The next thing West noticed was that the writer was kind, and at his 40th birthday party, the house was packed with laughter, but he would walk through all the happy people to the loneliest friend. What surprised West most was that the writer had a big loving heart. Many men will be furious when they find out that their lover is cheating. Even if they can't vent their anger, they can't avoid being estranged. But after the writer saw his lover sell his body to the magnate, he was able to pretend not to know and then hug the pain of him silently to comfort him. It is this key action that changes Wessler's attention to his movements. It seems to be clutching the back of the chair and falling asleep, but it is the same posture as the writer hugging his lover, which is both an expression of Wessler's inner loneliness and his sympathy for the writer. The director used two acts to shape Wessler's transformation, the first being his attic in firmness. Drawing the structure of the writer's house with chalk and walking in it to monitor it, it seems that such work is not needed. But he did so not only because he was bored, but also because he fantasized about living his life in the writer's house. The second is that after his greater transformation, he sneaks into the writer's home, looks at traces of his life, and steals a book that the writer likes. When you know a good person deeply and you appreciate him for liking him, you will unconsciously want to be him. So, you must make friends with good people. And what makes Wessler a hero? Above I only talked about one person going from bad to being good, but going from being good to being a hero. People have to pay more, and gambling on their careers and even their lives sounds like a sacrifice that very people can make, but it is actually not so difficult or rare. Looking back at Wessler's process of becoming a hero, it is wonderful that he did not make the choice between hero and devil at the beginning. On the contrary, he struggled and almost sent the writer to prison. His heroic deeds actually began with the kindness of raising his hand again and again. The first time he helped, he just wanted the writer to see the cruel fact that his lover was cheating, so he wanted to play a prank and guide the writer to find out. The second time was that he saw the writer's lover drinking in the bar, so he went forward to briefly persuade him to help him find his heart. The third time was when he heard the writer discussing smuggling. This time the writer was really breaking the law, but Wessler chose not to report it. Let's think about it again. This sentence is very interesting. He said to help this time. But after that, he helped more and more. The more Nico put in, the more he helped him, the more he looked like a hero. Then again, does becoming a hero really require a natural dedication soul? Not necessarily. Sometimes the character of a hero or even being a good person doesn't require you to make the toughest choices at once. It requires only very subtle kindness, and little by little it will converge into a noble soul. Why did the old ancestors say not to be small and good? That's probably why. Is it worth being a good person? I have to draw attention to the fact that another key figure is the writer's lover. In the process of tailing the abandonment of the dark and the light, this actress is actually an ordinary person who abandons the light and throws the light and the dark. We witness how he struggled between good and bad, ending in a tragic fall, into the abyss of betrayal, ending his life. In him, Wessler saw the consequences of the deviation from his conscience, and Wessler spoke to him twice, the first time in the bar, as had been said before, and the second time in the interrogation room to pay attention to the fact that he had turned his back on him, and if he now recognized each other, in another room where the interrogation had been conducted, the superior would have known the good things he had done. Wessler would have been finished, but unexpectedly, when he turned around in a very high profile, the actress did not dare to look him straight down. There was no surprise in his eyes, which meant that he didn't recognize him at all. He forgot who he was. Perhaps it was precisely because fear and pain had taken over her mind. Those who had given him important influence in his life would be forgotten by her. In this way, Weiss continued to perform quietly, but then chose the opposite path to the actress, resisted the pressure, and guarded his conscience. I think everyone remembers that the real bad guy in this movie is the big official with a fat belly, who seems to have no need to interpret at all, that is, he is heinous. But the director still gave 2 scenes, but let us understand that his first scene was only 8 seconds. Is the official waiting for Sealand in the hotel? He did not, should appear. We see that Dagwon is also very depressed, the posture of evil people, why not lonely inside? Unfortunately, he didn't know how not to be lonely. He would only use his power to force others to accompany her Sealand, and if he didn't follow him, he would destroy his lover and not get Sealand, so he would destroy him. Could this make up for his emptiness? He was lonely and selfish and stupid, and this was the fate he had to face. The second scene is 2 years after the fall of the Berlin Wall. Somehow it was not liquidated, and once met the writer, he came up to offer his ugliness. Crackling, a whole bunch of words were showing off, the prestige he had lost. The mouthful of filth and venom no longer conceals his pleasure in hurting others with his words. This shows that he has no remorse at all. If you think about it, when one can only gain the illusion of victory through the speed of the tongue, this is the proof of the loser. Yeah, he's okay, he's lucky, but he's just the walking dead. Later, Wessler was punished, for years as a letter breaker. After the fall of the Berlin Wall, the times changed. Wessler was able to give up the identity of a spy. After tearing countless letters, he chose to be an obscure messenger. He's done so many bad things. If it can be forgotten by the world, it is also a good ending. Why did the writer later want to talk to her after learning about his deeds, but gave up? Why not say thank you in person? The writer understands Wessler's pain. He once listened to others, and now he is ashamed of that past, and if the person who has been eavesdropped wants to meet him and thank him, what comfort can this give? So the writer chose to keep his distance and not disturb Wessler's guilt and conscience. After the fall of the Berlin Wall, he lost his creative power, but now, he picked up his pen again, wrote a